goes like this, and he goes on again. Yama is celebrating this person. So you get this antaryamitva. The theory is there, but how do we, you and me, who are doing this satsang for the past almost 3 years now, how are we going to get this knowledge? How are we going to understand and know that there is an antaryamin inside us? What is that process of knowing the Supreme? Yeah. And here Yama gives a beautiful metaphor. I love it. So it's an amazing metaphor. And let's spend some time, finish today's talk talking about this. So he says, Aranyo nihito jataveda garbha iva subruto garbiribihi dive dive idyo jagruvadbihi havishmadbihi manushye agnihi etadvaitad. So he says, Aranyo nihito jataveda. Okay, jataveda, many of you would be very familiar. Jataveda literally means fire. Yeah, jataveda in a mukhya vritti means fire, Agni, fire. Yeah, Aranyo nihito, Aranyo. So in the Vedic times, and this tells you, these verses tell you how the rishis used to do their upasane. How would they do their fire sacrifice? They would generate fire using this aranya. So aranyo nihito. So aranya is an instrument where you might have seen in National Geography, for example, that you have two sticks, and so you have these two sticks, and you rub the top stick with the bottom, and you create a friction, and you have this wood fibers here, and in that friction heat is generated and fire comes out. Yeah, aranyo nihito jataveda. So that is what Yama is telling. So look how you guys are doing in Mrityu Loka, how you are doing generating this fire. Think about that problem of you use this top end, there is a wood, and bottom there is a wood, and there is a fiber. And in fact, our Vedas talk about you can't generate fire from any random wood. Does anybody know which wood is used or was used in the Vedic time to generate fire? That's a quiz.
Is it Samit?
Yeah, which wood is used, Harish?
I heard it referred to as Samit. I don't know if that means the wood or just the type of
Samiti is just Samit is just sticks. That is sticks you put into the fire. Yeah, and if you're a student, you will go to the forest and get all the sticks and wood for putting it into the fire. Pragnesh.
Aswastha.
Well done, fantastic, 100%. So Ashwatha. So a special type of Ashwatha tree, even that Ashwatha tree, the Vedas describe there is a special type of Ashwatha tree, not any Ashwatha tree. Okay, so you can do your research about this. So there is a special type of Ashwatha tree that is used to make fire. Okay, so this is, in Vedic times it is there, but I was just Googling to see which other civilizations use the same approach, and I realized that many of the African tribes, men and women, still do this. They also use Aranyo Nihito Jataveda. Mexicans, the Inca civilization also used to do the same thing, Aranyo Nihito Jataveda. And our Vedic rishis were also doing the same thing, Aranyo Nihito Jataveda. Yeah, so I hope you find this interesting, because Yama is such an exalted guru and a scholar. He's not just going to be, yes, this is interesting about how fire was generated, but is that all that Yama is talking about? No, there is an underlying philosophy behind this. What does that mean? So look at Aranya. You need to look at what Aranya is. Aranya means Arani. Arani means Aryate and Rana. Rana means Vedas. The group of Vedas are called Ranas. Aryate, he who knows the Veda is called Aryate. In fact, Arya, so we all know Arya, right? Aryan civilization, Arya, which is a very popular word. And the Arya comes as he who is an elderly, knowledgeable person. He who knows, he who is a knowledgeable person is called Arya. So Aryate, what does he know? He knows the Vedas. So what does that mean? Aranyo Nihito Jataveda means there are two fellows here who are Aranyas. They know something about the Vedas and they are churning, they are having a discussion. So this wood, for example, could be a guru, and this wood here is a Sishya. So both these guys have a certain knowledge about the Vedas. And what are they doing? They are churning that wood. They are having this discussion, dialogue, and debate, and clarifying doubts, and they're very actively doing this. They're forcefully doing this discussion for what? Jata Veda. Here it is for fire, but here what? To know about this Jata Veda. So again, that Parama Mukhya Vritti is Jata Veda is the name of the Supreme. Jatam Jatam Veti iti Jata Veda. That means Jatam Jatam means this chap knows everything about that he has created. Jatam Jatam Veti Jata Veda, i.e. meaning he is Sarvajna, he is omniscient being. And how do we get the knowledge of that particular all-knowing Supreme Brahman? By doing Aranyo Nihito Jata Veda. Who are those Aranyos? Guru and Sishyas. They are churning the Vedas. And as you churn the Vedas, what happens is that knowledge about this Jata Veda, the knowledge about the Supreme Brahman evolves. And how does that knowledge about the Supreme Brahman evolve? And Yama again gives a beautiful metaphor there. Garbha eva subruto garbini bihi. So he says, as a lady goes through pregnancy from month 1 to month 9, how the womb, you know that the baby inside is growing. How do you know that the baby is growing? By actually observing her womb, the size of her tummy is increasing. Her abdominal girth increases from month 1 to month 9. As the girth increases, you know that there is a baby that is growing inside and that her pregnancy is getting matured, and eventually the baby will come out and you will see it. And similarly, the more you do this Aranyo Nihito Jata Veda, Guru and the Sishya, they discuss and gain knowledge about this Jata Veda, you will get that idea that eventually you will get to know about this Brahman. The knowledge of the Brahman is going to increase until one point when the delivery happens, you will have Shakshatkar. You will have a Shakshatkara. You become an Aparoksha Jnani and you will actually see the baby that's come out. Right now, you know only how your knowledge is increasing, but one day you will actually see the baby. And that is the idea that our Yama in this beautiful verse talks about this Aranyo Nihito Jata Veda Garbha Eva Subrito Garbhinevi Dive Dive Idyaha. Okay, so that means what? Dive means Diva means what? Day. The English word day comes from the Sanskrit word Diva. Yeah, so no surprises there. So Dive Idyaha. So how do this Guru and Sishya, they churn this Vedas, they churn this wood called Vedas? How do they do that? Every day they do it. Constantly, every day, 24 hours a day, that they have to do this. Idyaha. Worship, Dive Idyaha, worship every day. Okay, how do you do it? Jagravadbihi, Havishmadbihi. So by Jagravadbihi means Jagravadbihi means knowledge. You're awake and you're reading and so on. So that is a metaphor for knowledge. And Havishmadbihi is what? You're doing this Havish. A havan, a homa, and you're doing throwing various things in the havan, which is a kind of an action. So karma, yeah, jnana and karma. Manushyebihi, manushya there means mananashilaha, thinking, deep contemplation, meditation, and so on. So when you do that, so you worship every day with knowledge and karma, and you do your contemplation about whom? This Agni. Okay. So again, it's hugely metaphorical. This Agni of the fire sacrifice is your ordinary Agni, but we all know, we have done this before. Agni, also the etymology of Agni, one simple definition I put here. I got another slide before finishing today's talk, talking about who that Agni is. Okay, so here, like how Aditi is Atti iti Aditihi, similarly Atti iti Agnihi. And there is no surprise there. This fire consumes everything. Whatever you throw at it, it'll eat and it'll destroy it. Similarly, this Brahman at the end of this creation will consume everything. So that is the idea there about Agni. Atti iti Agni. Okay. So now I've got a question here so that I can have a minute's break. Why is fire the most suitable symbol for contemplation of Brahman? Because that is what Yama is leading us. Think about this Agni, think about this Agni. So there is, before we go into the etymology of the word Agni, let us think about why we as the practitioners of Sanatana Dharma actually use fire as the most suitable symbol for contemplation of Brahman. There are many other religious traditions like Zoroastrianism, Judaism, and even the Catholicism uses fire as a symbol of the supreme. And our Vedic system for eons has always considered fire as the most suitable symbol for the contemplation of Brahman. So who wants to take that one? Kavita ji says purity. Very good. Thank you, Kavita ji. Anybody else?
Madhu, Suresha, is it Agni because it's that element which cannot be contaminated. I mean, the way it consumes everything. I mean, that's something which can't be contaminated, and also as a practical symbol of light. If we think Bhagavan as the Jnanananda Swarupa, so for those two reasons, perhaps Agni becomes the mode of worship.
Yeah, beautiful, Suresh. Yeah, amazing. You captured so many important points. So we'll go to Pragnesh and then come to Jagdish. Pragnesh.
Also, Urdhvagami, the Jwala always going upwards.
Yeah, beautiful. Yes. So it's always looking up. Urdhva Mukha. Yeah, excellent. Jagdish ji.
It's also I think so. You mentioned about Aga plus Ni. Again, it just takes you, that moves from darkness to the light, from the unknowledge to the knowledgeable. So that kind of the node to the abode. Yeah, knowing.
Beautiful. That. Thank you, Jagdish. Excellent. So we all of us captured all the points. So who is that Agni? Is it material Agni or fire? Or is it somebody else? And we have always understood in this forum that there is nothing material that is being discussed in the Vedas. It's always a sentient component. And who are those sentient components of Agni? And again, we have discussed this before. Pradhana Agni, Agni Devata, he is the 15th rank. Kalagni Rudra, he is the 5th rank. Prana Agni, he is the 3rd rank. Chaturmukha, 3rd rank. Kalagni Durga, that is also discussed in the Veda. She is the 2nd rank. And then there is this Agni Narayana, who is the 1st rank. Okay. So the question there is, which Agni is Yama is discussing here. So as you look at this beautiful mantra, Aranyo Nihito Jata Veda Garba Iva Subruto Garbini Bihi Dive Dive Idyaha Jagruvadbihi Havishmadbihi Manushyebihi Agnihi Etadvai Tat. So he makes it very clear that Agni is Etadvai Tat, that Agni that is worshipped, that is inside you, and he will also be inside you in moksha sthiti. Etad vai, who etad, that which is here very close to you, is also the one that is going to be there in moksha sthiti. So here Yama is taking us into an entirely different angle about who Agni is. Yeah, definitely not the material Agni, definitely not the Pradhana Agni, and all the things that he has celebrated Brahman. So you should always think about the context in which Upanishads are talking about names. In that context, in that prakarana, it is the Brahman that is being discussed here. So I want to finish today's class with this one. And, we all know that Rig Veda is the oldest text of mankind. Yeah. And we have to, if Rig Veda really is the oldest text of mankind, then you need to ask the question, why is the very first word spoken in that oldest text of mankind Agni? So Agni Mile. Okay. So what I want to do is, I hope this inspires you, but this mantra inspires me every time. So hopefully my desire here is, once we do Katha Upanishad, we should spend a month or two thinking about Agni Shukta, which is the very first Sukta of Rig Veda. So I want to play this YouTube Agni Sukta first and then remind ourselves who this Agni is. I hope the internet works. Let me have a go at this.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. यज्ञस्य देवमृद्विजम् होतारं रत्नधातमम् अग्निः पूर्वेभिर्षिभिरेड्यो नोतनैरुता स देवो एहमक्षते अग्निना हरिमश्नवत्पोषमेव दिवे दिवे यशसं वीरवत्तमम् अग्नेयज्ञमध्वरं विश्वतः परिभोरसे स इत्येवेषु गच्छति अग्निर्होता पवित्रत्वः सत्यश्चित्रश्रवस्तमः देवो देवेभिरागमत् यदङ्गदाशुषे त्वमग्ने भद्रं करिष्यसि तवेत्तत्सत्यमङ्गिरः उपत्वाग्ने दिवे दिवे दोषावस्तर्थिजा भजम् नमो भरन्त एमसि राजन्तमध्वराणां गोपामृतस्य दिदिविम् वर्धमानं स्मेदमे स नः पितेव सोनवेग्ने सोपाजनो भव स च स्वानस्वस्तये.
Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that Agni Sukta. It's just an inspirational Sukta here, and you might have heard some frequent words there that we have just done. Dive, dive, idyaha, agnihi. So what Yama has used some of the words, you will see this dive, dive, idyaha, all scattered around Agni Sukta. And this Agni Sukta, and it is our sacred duty to burst this bubble, because there are some ignorant people out there who think our Vedic rishis were just looking at these natural things and they were worshipping all the natural things that were happening. It is not that the supreme being they were worshipping in Agni Sukta or Indra Sukta or whatever other Sukta. It is their own ignorance, because the Agni that is worshipped by who is, okay, here is a question somebody may want to answer this. Who is the Rishi who is actually seeing the Agni Sukta of Rig Veda? So who has seen this? Who is the seer of this mantra, Agni Sukta mantra? Anybody wants to take that?
Is it Madhuchandra, Vishwamitra's son?
Thank you, Shilaji. Wonderful. Madhuchandra Vaishwamitraha, who is Vishwamitra's son. And what did Vishwamitra compose? Who wants to take that? We have done this in this forum. What did Vishwamitra compose? Which is again a great Gayatri. So Vishwamitra Gayatri, which is the celebration of the sun. As Surya Narayana, who is inside, Vishwamitra gave us the Gayatri. And his son, Madhuchandra Vaishwamitra, he gives us the Agni Sukta, which is the very first Sukta of the Rig Veda. So this Agni should not be underestimated. Our Sanatana Dharma and Vedic philosophy does not talk about some material Agni, because our rishis were not cavemen worshipping fire. Yeah, give me a break. If some people think that, it is their profound ignorance. Because the Agni that is discussed by Madhuchandra Vaishwamitra, no less he is the son of Vishwamitra, cannot be some material Agni. It has to be something else. So Acharya Madhva in his Rig Bhashyam actually gives us the etymology. When you recite the Agni Sutra, what is that spirit in which you have to recite this? Agni Shabdo Ayam Agra Eva Abhipujyatam Agrayatvam Agra Netrutvam Attim Anganga Netrutam. So this is the definition of Agni. So what does that mean? So let us take this simple. I think Jagadish Ji was mentioning that Agani. What is the etymology of Agni? Agni. You separate it into Agani. Ga means Gamayati, Gachati. Okay, so it's something that moves, something that has volition. That is Ga, Gamayati, Gachati, and all that. Aga means something which is inert. The opposite of ga is aga. Okay, so for something that is inert, this is the niyati. It gives volition. So it gives volition to all inert entities in existence. That is called Agni. So if you think about in Pralaya, everything is in suspended animation. We know even the material, Sattva, Rajas, Tama is in equilibrium. All the jivas are there in that Sushupti state in Pralaya, complete inactivity. And then what happens to them? They all come into existence. So this Supreme Brahman brings them into creation and gives them their volition and everything else. And that is why he is called Agni. And if you look at the first verse, Agra Shabdo, I am Agra Eva Abhipujyatam, Agre Niyati, which means the very first to be adored, The Supreme Brahman is the greatest being that we have to adore. Agre Niyati iti Agnihi. Agrayatvat Agnihi, the first and the foremost of all. He is the Purushottama. So Agrayatvad Agrihi. Agre Nayati. He is the prime mover of all. If he was not there inside me as my Antaryamin, nothing was ever going to happen. Okay. Attim, he is a devourer of all in Pralaya. So Attim. Angam Nayati, he is the activator of all bodies of all beings. Agam Nayati, activator of all, or else they remain inert. So those are all the ideas that we need to get when we look at this Madhuchanda Vaishwamitra's Agni Shukta. Okay, so if one take-home message that we've all heard today is, our Rishi Madhuchanda Vaishwamitra was not a caveman sitting somewhere and running around fire. No, his view as described in the Agni Sukta is something very profound. Yeah, and that is why we should be very, very proud of our heritage, because Rig Veda, the oldest text, and in that oldest text, the very first word is Agni. And that is what Yama has said, Jagrivadbihi, Havishmadbihi, Manushyebihi, Agnihi, in this verse. So that Agni is what is here for you, sustaining your samsara here. And it is the same Agni that is going to look after you in Moksha Sthiti. So that is the highest levels of philosophy that Yama takes us, and that is what he wants us to be thinking about. Because Nachiketa, as you know, he's such an enthusiastic student. He has already demonstrated that he is a very clever bloke. And Yama is giving him more and more deeper philosophy of actually worshipping that Agni Narayana. HinduKnowledgeAcademy.com will celebrate Vedic culture and present its philosophies to the modern Hindu in an accessible format. Our ancient heritage is our greatest strength. Through preservation and dissemination, together let us spread positivity in the world. Thank you for listening and welcome to Hindu Knowledge Academy.